Welcome, gents. Most people go through life ruled by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of standing alone. But if you're a Sigma male, you already know that fear has no real power unless you give it permission. You don't move like the crowd, and you don't waste time seeking approval. That alone sets you apart. The world tries to control people through intimidation, through authority, social pressure, and the illusion of status. But here's the truth. None of that works on you. Why? Because you've built yourself from the inside out. You've faced hardship, learned from betrayal, and sharpened your mind to the point where fear no longer dictates your actions. You don't just reject weakness, you transform it. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt has been fuel for your growth. That's why nobody can shake you. You understand that fear is just another mental game, and you refuse to be played. This isn't about arrogance. It's about control. Control over your emotions, your choices, and your destiny. You don't fear power because you are your own source of power. You don't fear rejection because solitude has made you unbreakable. You don't fear authority because you've realized most authority is just a mask for insecurity. This is why you stand apart. This is why you fear nobody. And this is why you're a Sigma male. Let's get started, gents. Number 1. They've already faced the worst. Fear loses its grip on a man once he realizes that survival isn't about pleasing others. It's about mastering himself. Sigma males understand this better than anyone because they've already been through the fire. They've faced rejection, betrayal, and solitude. They've seen what it's like to stand alone when no one believes in them. And instead of breaking, they adapted. Instead of begging for acceptance, they built themselves into something unstoppable. Most people are afraid of losing comfort, reputation, or approval. But a Sigma male has already experienced what it's like to have nothing and still keep going. He's had moments where he questioned everything, where the world seemed like an unforgiving battlefield. Yet in those moments, he didn't crumble. He sharpened his mind, toughened his heart, and learned that fear is just a test. When you've been at rock bottom and climbed out with nothing but your own strength, the world stops feeling so intimidating. You stop fearing failure because you've already survived worse. You stop fearing loneliness because you've found peace in your own company. You stop fearing what people think because you've seen firsthand how fickle and unreliable their opinions are. This is why Sigma males don't flinch when faced with challenges. They don't beg for mercy, and they don't shrink under pressure. They've been hardened by life in ways that most people will never understand. They don't need a safety net because they are their own safety net. And that's what makes them so dangerous to those who rely on fear to control others. Fear is a weapon used against the weak. Sigma males, they've been cut by it, burned by it, and ultimately they've learned to wield it themselves. That's why they fear nobody. Not because they were born fearless, but because they earned it. Number 2. They know most people are faking confidence. Confidence isn't something you can slap on like a costume and expect it to stick. Many of the people we see as powerful are busy projecting an image of unshakable strength, but underneath that veneer, they're often wrestling with the same doubts and insecurities as everyone else. Sigma males have a knack for cutting through this act. They understand that much of the bravado is just a mask, a way for people to hide their fear of being ordinary or showing vulnerability. In everyday life, we notice how some individuals go out of their way to appear unbreakable. They toss around bold statements, make grand gestures, and never seem to let their guard down. But look a little closer and you'll see that these displays are more about covering up internal turmoil than they are about genuine self-assurance. Sigma males have been around enough to know that what seems like confidence is often nothing more than a desperate effort to avoid confronting one's own uncertainties. For a Sigma male, true strength comes from embracing reality rather than denying it. They don't feel the need to parade a false sense of security to impress others. Instead, they build a quiet, internal resilience that doesn't depend on external approval. They've learned that if you're constantly busy pretending to be fearless, you never have time to actually deal with your fears. And that's a trap most people fall into. This insight gives Sigma males a significant advantage. They can spot when someone is overcompensating, and they don't waste time trying to join in on the pretense. They know that the bravado people flaunt is just that, an illusion. By staying true to themselves and accepting their own vulnerabilities, Sigma males cultivate a more authentic form of confidence. In a world full of masks and false displays, their genuine self-assurance not only sets them apart but also empowers them to face life without the burden of maintaining a facade. Thank you for being part of Gents Grove community. You are valued. At number 3, they have no need to impress anyone. Far too many people spend their days trying to please everyone around them. They worry about what friends, colleagues, or even strangers might think about their actions. That constant pressure forces many to second-guess every move and live in a state of anxiety. But for Sigma males, life takes a different approach. They simply don't feel the need to impress anyone because they're already comfortable in their own skin. Instead of chasing approval, Sigma males focus on building themselves up. They invest time and energy in sharpening their skills, exploring new ideas, and working on personal growth. They understand that genuine success and inner satisfaction don't come from external validation. Every moment spent fretting over others' opinions is a moment lost in pursuing what truly matters. This mindset frees them from the chains of fear. When you're not desperate to fit into someone else's mold, you're liberated to make decisions that reflect your own values and ambitions. Sigma males have learned that trying to be liked by everyone is not only impossible but also counterproductive. Their energy is better spent carving out their own path, unburdened by the expectations of the crowd. It's not that Sigma males are indifferent to people or unappreciative of kindness. Rather, they recognize that the quest for approval often leads to a life half-lived. They see through the shallow rewards of superficial praise and know that true confidence comes from within. By trusting their own judgment and staying true to who they are, they avoid the traps of self-doubt and hesitation that plague those who constantly seek validation. In a world obsessed with likes, followers, and praise, Sigma males stand out by being authentic. They remind us that our worth isn't measured by the applause of others, but by the strength of our character and the clarity of our vision. And in that freedom from the need to impress, fear simply has no room to grow. Number 4, they expect betrayal and weakness from others. Most people get blindsided by betrayal. They put their faith in others, believe in promises, and expect loyalty, only to be devastated when reality proves otherwise. But Sigma males? They don't live in that illusion. They already know that most people are driven by self-interest, and they expect that at some point, someone will betray them, disappoint them, or reveal their weakness. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity, and that clarity strips away fear. When you expect betrayal, it doesn't shake you. When you assume that most people are unreliable, you don't waste time being disappointed. Sigma males understand that trust is not something you give freely. It's something that must be earned over time. And even then, they remain prepared for the moment when someone's true nature emerges. They don't cling to naive expectations because they've seen the patterns play out too many times before. This mindset makes them immune to emotional traps. They don't let their guard down too soon. They don't overcommit to people who haven't proven themselves, and they don't attach their sense of security to anyone else's loyalty. If someone betrays them, they don't crumble. They simply move on, already having anticipated the possibility. It's not personal. It's just human nature. This approach also makes Sigma males highly self-reliant. Since they don't expect others to carry them through life, they build their own foundation. They don't wait for someone to save them, support them, or validate them. They make sure they can stand alone, which means no betrayal ever leaves them helpless. The world teaches people to be trusting and hopeful, but Sigma males understand that real strength comes from seeing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. And when you see people clearly, without illusions, you eliminate the fear of being deceived, hurt, or disappointed. Instead of fearing betrayal, Sigma males prepare for it. And that's why they never fall apart when it happens. Number 5, they don't waste energy on what they can't control. Most people spend their lives worrying about things they have no power over, what others think of them, how a situation will unfold, or whether life will go according to plan. They let fear and anxiety drain their energy, reacting to every little thing outside their control. But Sigma males, they refuse to play that game. They know that fear is often just misplaced focus, and they won't waste a single second obsessing over things they can't change. Instead, Sigma males direct their energy inward. They focus on what they can control, their mindset, their actions, their ability to adapt. If something isn't in their hands, they let it go. If an obstacle appears, they adjust their approach. If people misunderstand or underestimate them, they don't waste time explaining themselves. They know that external factors will always be unpredictable, but their own discipline, intelligence, and problem-solving skills will carry them through anything. This is why Sigma males remain calm under pressure. While others panic about circumstances beyond their reach, a Sigma male stays focused on solutions. If something unexpected happens, he doesn't react emotionally. He recalculates, finds a new path, and moves forward. He understands that in a chaotic world, control is an illusion. The only real power anyone has is over their own mind and actions. That's why they don't live in fear. They don't sit around hoping things will go their way or waste time resenting things that don't. They adapt. They prepare. They strengthen themselves from within so that no matter what happens, they can handle it. At the end of the day, a Sigma male knows this. Fear thrives where focus is misplaced, and he refuses to feed it. Instead of worrying about things he can't control, he masters the one thing he can, himself, and that's what makes him unstoppable. Number 6, they have nothing to lose because they own themselves. Most people are terrified of losing something: status, money, relationships, approval. They tie their identity to these things, believing that without them, they are nothing. That's why they live in fear, constantly walking on eggshells to keep what they think defines them. Sigma males? They don't play that game. They own themselves completely, which makes them untouchable. A Sigma male might have wealth, power, or influence, but none of it owns him. Take it all away, and he remains the same person. That's because his identity isn't built on external things. It's built on who he is, what he knows, and what he can do. He doesn't seek validation, he doesn't depend on approval, and he definitely doesn't shape his decisions around keeping people happy. This is what makes him fearless. You can't control someone who isn't afraid to lose. This mindset is rare. Most people cling to security because they've convinced themselves that without their job, their reputation, or their social circle, they'll fall apart. Sigma males reject that weakness. They operate with the understanding that everything external is temporary. People change, circumstances shift, fortunes rise and fall. But self-mastery, that's permanent. And once you own yourself, no one can ever take that away. This is why Sigmas don't beg for opportunities, don't compromise their values, and don't waste time chasing validation. They move through life on their own terms, knowing that if something disappears, they can rebuild from nothing. And that's the scariest thing about them. For those who rely on control, manipulation, or social power plays, a Sigma male is the one person they can't threaten. You can't hold power over a man who isn't afraid to start from scratch. You can't break someone who has already accepted that nothing external defines them. And you certainly can't intimidate a Sigma male because he doesn't fear losing what was never meant to own him in the first place. Number 7. They see fear for what it is, a tool, not a master. Most people are ruled by fear. They let it dictate their decisions, limit their potential, and keep them stuck in situations they hate. But Sigma males? They don't see fear as something to run from. They see it as something to use. To them, fear is just information, a signal that something requires attention. It's not an enemy, it's a tool. When a Sigma male feels fear, he doesn't freeze up or back down. Instead, he dissects it. He asks himself, why am I feeling this? What is this fear trying to tell me? If it's warning him of real danger, he adjusts his strategy. If it's just insecurity whispering doubts in his mind, he shuts it down and moves forward. He never lets fear make the final decision. This is what makes Sigma males so different. Most people let fear paralyze them. They hesitate, overthink, and ultimately stay in their comfort zones because they're afraid of discomfort, failure, or rejection. Sigma males do the opposite. They lean into fear. They see it as an indicator of growth, a sign that they're stepping into something challenging, something worth pursuing. If fear arises, it means they're pushing their limits, and that's exactly where they want to be. This mindset makes them unstoppable. They're not reckless. They don't ignore fear. They just refuse to be controlled by it. They use it as fuel, as motivation, as a way to sharpen their instincts. Where others see fear as a roadblock, Sigma males see a doorway, and instead of turning back, they walk through it every single time. That's why they succeed where others hesitate. That's why they take the risks that most people avoid. And that's why nothing, not doubt, not failure, not even fear itself, can stop them, because they understand the truth. Fear was never meant to be a master. It was only ever meant to be a guide. Number 8. They have a dark side they're not afraid to use. Fear thrives in people who feel powerless, those who don't believe they have what it takes to stand their ground when things get ugly. Most people like to see themselves as good and nice, avoiding conflict at all costs. They believe that being agreeable will keep them safe. Sigma males, they know better. They've accepted that life isn't always fair, and sometimes playing nice is nothing more than a weakness disguised as virtue. Sigma males aren't afraid of their darker instincts. They don't suppress them, they refine them. They understand that in a world where people manipulate, deceive, and exploit, knowing when to be ruthless is a survival skill. It's not about being cruel. It's about having the ability to defend yourself when necessary, to walk away without hesitation, and to take action without seeking approval. This is what makes them untouchable. They are not the type to lash out recklessly, but when backed into a corner, they won't hesitate to respond in ways most people can't predict. They have the discipline to remain calm and the intelligence to choose their battles wisely. They know when to be silent and let fools reveal themselves, and when to strike with precision. But their real advantage? They don't fear losing people, titles, or social validation. This means they can make the hard decisions without hesitation. Whether that's cutting ties with someone toxic, standing alone against the majority, or taking risks that others wouldn't dare to consider. Most people like to believe that strength is about being loud, dominant, and aggressive. Sigma males know true strength is about control. They don't posture, they don't bluff, and they don't waste energy proving themselves, but when the time comes, they will do what needs to be done, without hesitation, without remorse, and without fear. That's why no one can shake them. Because when you have the courage to embrace your dark side, you don't just survive. You become someone that no one dares to challenge. Number 9. They accept the worst-case scenario and move on. Fear thrives on uncertainty. Most people waste energy worrying about what-ifs. What if they fail? What if they lose? What if things don't go their way? This hesitation keeps them stuck, paralyzed by scenarios they haven't even lived through yet. But Sigma males, they approach life differently. They strip fear of its power by doing something most people never even consider. They accept the worst-case scenario up front. Instead of running from discomfort, they confront it head-on. If they're making a big move, they ask themselves, what's the absolute worst that could happen? Could they lose money, face rejection, start over from scratch? Yes, and they make peace with that reality before they even begin. They don't waste time denying or fearing it. They acknowledge it, prepare for it, and proceed anyway. This mindset makes them fearless. While most people tiptoe through life, terrified of losing comfort or status, Sigma males understand that setbacks are inevitable. They know that no matter how careful or calculated their actions are, failure is always a possibility. But instead of fearing it, they accept it as part of the process. If they fail, they'll adapt. If they lose, they'll rebuild. If they fall, they'll rise again. Nothing catches them off guard because they've already faced it mentally. That's what separates them from the rest. Fear only controls people who resist reality, who refuse to acknowledge that failure, pain, and loss are part of life. Sigma males don't resist, they accept, and in doing so, they remove fear's ability to stop them. Once you've embraced the worst-case scenario, It has no power over you. And when fear loses its grip, you move through life with a kind of quiet, unshakable confidence. That's why Sigma males don't hesitate. They don't hold back. They don't let doubt creep in, because they have already made peace with whatever happens next. Number 10. They see problems as puzzles, not threats. Most people panic when they face a challenge. Their minds jump to worst-case scenarios, their emotions take over, and suddenly fear is in control. But Sigma males, they don't see problems as roadblocks. They see them as puzzles waiting to be solved. A problem is just a test of intelligence, patience, and creativity. Instead of reacting emotionally, Sigma males take a step back and assess the situation like a chessboard. What are the variables? What's the smartest move? Where's the hidden advantage? They approach obstacles like a strategist, not a victim. This keeps them calm, focused, and always one step ahead. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but Sigma males are comfortable with the unknown. They don't crumble under pressure because they've trained themselves to think critically rather than emotionally. When a problem arises, they don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What's the solution?" This shift in mindset makes them adaptable in ways most people aren't. They don't get stuck. They don't freeze. They keep moving. This is why they're so difficult to intimidate. While others see chaos and panic, Sigma males see opportunity. A challenge is just an unsolved equation, and they trust themselves to figure it out. That's what makes them fearless. Not an absence of problems, but an unshakable belief that no problem is beyond their ability to solve. And here's the key. Once you start seeing problems as puzzles instead of threats, fear disappears. You no longer feel powerless. You stop running from difficulties and start outsmarting them. That's the mindset of a Sigma male, calm under pressure, always thinking ahead and never controlled by fear. Conclusion. Fear is the mind killer. That's not just a quote. It's a truth Sigma males live by. Fear is what keeps most people trapped in mediocrity, controlled by doubt, hesitation, and the opinions of others. But Sigma males, they operate differently. They aren't fearless because they were born that way. They're fearless because they've trained themselves to be. A Sigma male doesn't seek permission to exist. He doesn't wait for approval before making his move. He doesn't let fear dictate his choices. Why? Because he understands that fear is just another mental barrier, one that can be broken. He knows that authority is a construct, that confidence is often faked, and that people will betray and disappoint. None of this surprises him, so none of it scares him. This is the mindset of someone who walks through life untouchable. When you don't fear failure, you take risks. When you don't fear judgment, you move freely. And when you don't fear loss, you become unstoppable. Sigma males have already faced rock bottom, so what's left to be afraid of? They don't need to impress anyone, and they don't waste energy worrying about things beyond their control. Being fearless isn't about being reckless. It's about understanding what really matters. It's about knowing that most fear is just noise, designed to keep people in line. Sigma males see through it. They know that fear is a tool to be used, not a force to be obeyed. And that's why they move through life on their own terms, unshaken, unbothered, and completely untouchable. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.